Today we're looking at one of the areas we specialise in here at Redbridge, and that's Catalonia, and the wine regions that it contains, most of which are located to the south of Barcelona. And in particular, we're looking at Montsant and Priorat, two very small regions known for their high-quality blended red wines and also their fantastic white wines made from white Garnacha. And they're the two areas in green down the bottom here. The dark green is Montsant and the olive green centre is Priorat. Catalonia is extremely diverse. It's probably one of the most diverse areas in Spain. You have everything from the dry, arid areas inland where the grapes are grown. Less than an hour away is the Mediterranean and the thriving metropolis of Barcelona. And then just to the north you have the Pyrenees mountain range, which separate France from Spain, which is another very dramatic landscape with lots of lakes and reservoirs and quite different areas from where the grapes are grown. And all of this is within a couple of hours drive. So it's a little bit like driving from the west coast of New Zealand and over one of the Alpine passes and getting into Canterbury or Central Otago, and you go through a number of different environments in a very short distance. The climate is not as extreme as some of the other regions in Spain, although it does get very hot, and one of the biggest risks to the grape growing areas is the risk of thunderstorms that can build up over the Pyrenees, as you can see in this picture here, which then head south and towards the vineyard areas and which can cause a lot of damage in the summer months. So we're now in the Montsant region. It's named after the Montsant Massif, which is the huge rock formation that dominates the landscape, and it literally means holy mountain. We're here up on one of the higher vineyards in the region, looking down the valley towards the village of Capçanes, and it's where one of our producers, the Cellar de Capçanes, is located. Now, Cellar de Capçanes is a cooperative of around 30 local growers, and the cooperative system used to be pretty prevalent throughout Europe because it was a way of small producers, of which there were lots, to pool their resources and create something that they couldn't have done on an individual basis to make, produce and sell their wine collectively. These next two shots are on the one of Cellar de Capçanes' vineyards, and I'm effectively turned 180 degrees from the previous photograph. And what you can see here is that, again, the vineyard is made up of lots of little small pockets. I mean, this area here that we're looking at is only about half a hectare, but relatively young vines, these ones. But again, you've got very different soil types and very different microclimates for each, which allow for different parcels of wines, which are very useful when it comes to the blending process because they have such diverse flavours from within the same vineyard. The soils in both Montsant and Priorat are one thing that define them from other areas. The soil type is a particular type called Yicaraya, which is effectively a slate soil, and you can see the slate in the picture here. And you can also, if you look very closely, see the little tiny roots that are able to work their way down through it, a bit similar to areas where limestone is in the ground and the vine roots can do the same thing, but it allows them to go searching for moisture when there isn't a lot being provided from above because there's no rain or any supplementary irrigation or anything like that. Viticulture in this region was first introduced around 400 BC by the Phoenicians and the Greeks and then the Romans. In fact, the Roman centre for all of Spain was the town that's now known as Tarragona, which is only about half an hour away from where we are here in Montsant, and it was the administrative centre for the Roman Empire in Spain. One of the other things that you're probably noticing in these photographs is the huge amount of terracing that you see in the region on pretty much 90% of the vineyards. And there are some incredibly steep hillsides and difficult terrain that is planted in vines. And it struck me while I was there that obviously working these is incredibly backbreaking and very, very difficult. And it certainly brings a whole new meaning to the word hand harvesting. I mean, it's an overused term relating to anything that wasn't mechanically harvested, but here everything really is done by hand. And it also means that some of the normal equipment that you would use in a vineyard environment just doesn't work here. So I'd look at a hillside like this and I'd say to the guys that are working at it, it's like, how on earth do you get the right equipment to be able to do what you need to do in a vineyard on these sorts of settings and in this sort of terrain? And they said, oh, we have a very special type of tractor. And I was like, okay, it must be very special. I said, would you like to see it? I was like, definitely, that would be great. So they took me to see it, and here he is. His name is Jorge. And just goes to show that although mechanisation has come a long way in some environments, in some situations, the only way is the old way.
When I was last in the region, a friend took us up to one of the highest points in the area, and the rock formations where we were absolutely stunning. We wound our way up for about half an hour to get to the high point, and when we got there, we were on the side of an old monastery that looks across at the Montsant Massif, which you can see here in the distance. Now, also, we noticed that those of you that were looking very closely at this shot will have picked up on the fact that right perched on top of the rock, there's actually a bar, which is proof that in Spain, they'll just about put a bar anywhere. Anyway, we finished the day up on this high spot looking towards the south and the Terra Alta region, and it was a great way to finish the time that we were in the Priorat Montsant region. That brings us to the end of this segment on this part of Catalonia, and remember, if you want to buy our wines from Catalonia or any of our wines, go to our website redbridgeonline.co.nz.